How do I find a job or internship? What is the entire hiring process like in big companies? How should I prepare for my interviews? How should I present my work? How do I make most out of my internship? These are some of the most common questions that I get to hear. We get to hear. Yes, today I have a very special guest in the video and we both are going to answer all these questions. Please join me in welcoming ANSH MEHRA, a designer and fellow YouTuber. For the record, ANSH had interned in our team at Swiggy not once but twice.
Thank you so much for introducing me, SAPTA. Hi everyone, my name is ANSH MEHRA and I'm a storyteller and UX designer at Zul.com, which is a virtual events hosting platform. Today we're going to share some really important tips and tricks for building your portfolio, putting yourself out there, applying for the internship, preparing for the internship interview, and also making the most of your internship.
So we are here together to bring out both sides of the job hunt story. It's going to be fun. See you all in the other side of the jingle. Hey you awesome people, welcome to my channel. This is SAPTA, and if you're here for the first time, this is the place where I help designers build and scale their career. So if you're into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Today in this video, ANSH and I will be covering 4 large aspects: how to prepare for an internship, how to reach out and apply for jobs and internships, how to prepare for interviews, and finally, how to make most out of your internship once you're selected. Let's start with how to prepare for internship. The first stage of any design internship is selection based on portfolio. Just like you have resume shortlist for other kinds of jobs, in design it is portfolio. A portfolio is an evidence of your ability. If you want to know more about portfolios, check out this video that I had made in the past. I'll leave it linked in the description. So, portfolio is the first step that will determine if the company would even want to speak to you. The case studies in your portfolio should primarily exhibit 2 main parts of design. Number 1, your analytical skills. That is your ability to think, reason, brainstorm, analyze, and deduce what is right and what is not, and so on. Number 2, your hands-on crafting skills. That is, after you have done your thinking, your ability to do hands-on design to make them into artifacts that your users can experience. It's very important to exhibit both these aspects. Remember, if you miss out even one of these 2 aspects, it creates an impression that you have already given up on it, which is not a good sign for someone who is looking for an internship or just starting out in their career. You're just starting out. It's too early to give up, no? Make sure your portfolio is in the form that can be conveniently shared and accessed over the internet, because your first interaction with a company will definitely be one where you're not present to walk them through your work.
Instead of making a deck or a PDF, you should always try to make a dynamic portfolio. You can either host your own website, make a WordPress landing page, or even make a simple Notion page, which is very easy to set up. All you have to do is put your work on Dribbble, Behance, Instagram, wherever you want, and put the hyperlinks in that Notion page. The biggest advantage here is that anyone who sees your portfolio can access it on their phone, on their tablets, on their laptops, and you can update it without sending them a new link. First impressions really matter, and everyone judges a book by its cover. So make sure that you are consistently practicing your visual design skills. Do the 100-day UI challenge, pick some screens from Dribbble and start tracing them. You have to spend at least 100 or 150 hours making sure that your visuals are proper. Don't sell the solution, sell the process. No matter what problem statement you're working on, the company that you're applying to will never request you to work on the same problem. So instead of going too deep into the particular aspects of your problem statement, you have to show them how you curate your research. How do you show your thought process? How do you make your flows? What is the process like? Where do you take inspiration from? How much time do you spend on each segment, whether it's prototyping, whether it's wireframing? Show your skill set, show the different tools that you use when you're making your animations, when you're making your handoff. It is very, very important to sell the process and not just the exact solution.
Don't fake. I know there's a popular saying that goes by fake it till you make it, but trust me, it's too hard to pull that off. Folks who are looking into your portfolio are smart people, and they will certainly know when you're faking something. Oh, this person says he has done some research, but that doesn't really reflect in the solution in any form. Must be faking. You don't want to be in that situation. Now let's get into applying for internship. That is, where to look, how to reach out, and so on. The first step in this regard is put your work up on the internet. That's the fastest and the most effective way to get the world know that you exist. After you've made your portfolio, don't just reserve it for job applications. Publish it on your website or public writing platforms like Medium and LinkedIn. You never know, companies may reach out to you asking if you would want to work for them. Yes, that happens too. Even if that doesn't happen, be active on the internet. Spend time on social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Follow designers you look up to or follow designers from companies that you aspire to work for someday. See what kind of stuff they post online, be it about design or beyond that. Try and interact with their posts, with your thoughts or point of views and so on. This is a good way to let them know that you exist. Make sure when you comment, you do it with genuine, thought-provoking options. This way, you can build a relationship with them. In addition to that, connect with people over LinkedIn with titles like recruiter, talent acquisition, or HR. They're usually the ones who reach out to candidates when they're hiring. Also, keep looking for opportunities posted by companies on their websites, LinkedIn pages, and so on. And above all, reach out to people. Send cold emails, that is, send emails to folks from companies where you wish to work. It's very easy to decipher the email IDs of people these days. First name dot last name @ company domain is the most common structure of corporate email IDs these days. Also, be mindful who you are sending these mails to. If you send your emails to someone who's most likely to have a lot in their inbox, maybe with similar requests, the probability of them replying to you reduces. So just be a little strategic here. Send the mails to maybe relatively younger or newer members of the team who are less likely to have that many mails. And if you are good, it'll eventually reach the person you want to grab the attention of. Add your personal touch that can make you stand out from the rest.
For example, in my case, I was always into filmmaking and video editing. So when I submitted my task for Swiggy's internship, I actually made a proper video where I spoke in front of the camera, which did a couple of things. Firstly, it showed that I could edit videos, I could speak in front of the camera, and I knew a little bit about motion graphics and sound design. And I was learning these things in college, I was learning these things in school, and it was unknowingly a part of my skill set. So I want you to look back and see what hobbies or passions do you have. If you're a football fan, maybe you can make a project that revolves around football. If you're into music or singing, you can make a sample project that revolves around sound or music, because these are the things that you would naturally know and it would help you in your task.
Next, let's talk about preparing for the interview. Once you qualify the portfolio stage, there can be multiple stages of interviews depending on the company you're applying to. The very next stage is a stage where you actually speak to someone from the design team for the very first time. It's usually a video call. It's either a casual get-to-know call where you and the interviewer speak about various topics, including design. It's more of an evaluation of your personality than your designing skills. Or this can also be a portfolio review. Yes, portfolio once again. In the previous stage, the team would have looked into your portfolio in your absence, where they were glancing through your website, reading through your case studies, and judging you based on that. In this stage, they will review your portfolio in your presence. You will be the one giving a walkthrough of any one of your case studies from your portfolio. You will have the liberty to pick whichever you want to. Make sure you pick the one where you feel you have done your best work, most detailed work. A project you have thought about all the details, most of the details maybe, you know in and out of it. The call will be around 45 to 60 minutes, out of which you will spend the first 15 to 20 minutes presenting your case study. Rest of the time will be spent on discussion. What kind of discussion? The interviewer can ask you various questions around the project you have just presented. Why did you do this and not that? What made you feel this is the way to go about and not the other way? Did you make any assumptions here? Did you refer to any data or insights before coming up with this proposal? Did you consider a situation when this fails and that doesn't respond? And so on. Essentially, details of the project that you have just presented. You are expected to have the answers or at least some opinion about all these kind of questions. Remember, no answer is ever going to be completely right or completely wrong. It's about how you justify your decisions as logically as possible. Yeah, I did give it a thought. I know it's not perfect, but keeping the situation in mind, I think that's a fair trade-off to go ahead in this direction. Also, I read up this, that, and so on. See, this is a fairly valid answer for some of the questions that I just gave an example of. The keys to succeed in this round is, number one, clarity of your thought. That is, whether you thought about all the situations and constraints or not. Number two, how good is your craft? That is your hands-on work professional enough to ship to real users? Number 3, how confident are you about your work? And at the same time, number 4, how flexible are you to new ideas? That is, how do you react to feedback? Do you get defensive when something different is proposed, or are you open to new ideas? Once you qualify this round, the next stage is where you are given a take-home exercise or assignment. Think of it like a problem statement for a mock project that the company has given you to work on. Work on it just like you have done for your other case studies.
Submit your assignments using a Loom video. If you're not a video editor, that's completely okay. You don't need to learn After Effects. Just download this program called Loom, where you can actually show your face and communicate while you record your entire screen. So you can take them through your Figma project and actually talk and take them through the entire process. Nobody is expecting you to look like a movie star, but the least you can do is just wash your face and sit in a presentable way with your camera on, because you're not just selling the experiences you design, you're also selling the experience of working with you. So you have to feel confident, you have to show them that you can speak in front of the camera, you can tell them what your process is like, you can easily communicate how your process is like. And if you feel shy in front of the camera, you can practice, right? You can regularly practice reading books aloud. That is something that I used to do because my English was not as strong as it is today. Even today, I make a lot of mistakes. This video that you see right now is also edited. I can't speak so fluently so quickly. What you can do is you can have a script before you start your Loom video, say that script aloud for 4 or 5 times and then make your Loom video. It shouldn't be too long, but a 2 to 3 minute Loom video where you have your frames put together in a neat manner, where you know what you're talking about, would really help you to get extra marks. Even when you're giving your interview, enable your camera, show your face. You don't have to be shy about how you look. You're not going to put a mask on your face when you go to office, right? Make sure that you're not sitting in a dark, dingy room and just be confident about your work. A lot of people have anxiety about getting rejected, and that is completely understandable because most of us are students and you're applying to a big company, you really need it, you've told your parents about it, so you know that this important interview is going to decide your career. Most of this anxiety comes from the fact that you're not confident about your work. But if you consistently work on your craft, if you consistently work on your skill sets, you will soon realize that most of these companies need people like you. So if you're working on yourself, they are looking for you. You don't have to be overconfident about it, but you also don't need to feel anxious about being rejected, because if one company says no to you, there are 50 other companies that would be willing to give you another interview if you are consistently working on yourself. Avoid excuses like, oh, this is my personal laptop, my work is in another laptop, I didn't know that I was supposed to show my work, this laptop doesn't have a webcam, the light is not that good, the internet connection is not that strong. Please be prepared about these things from the get-go. You can't really say these things in the middle of the interview. It just shows that you weren't prepared. A simple checklist would be, do you have all your work in this laptop? Is your webcam working? Are you ready to put your camera on? Do you have a stable internet connection? Are you sitting in a room where there are people shouting and scrambling and running here and there? You have to be in a peaceful spot with all your work in one place, so that if your recruiter says that, hey, can you show me your work? You don't give this random excuse of saying that, oh, all my work is under the NDA. If everything that you worked on is under NDA, please have some personal projects that can show how good you are at what you do.
If you don't have any real work to show, work on mock projects. They are totally fine. They're totally acceptable, not only for internships, but for full-time roles as well. Think about what is missing in your life. Any service or convenience or anything at all. Think further. If any form of digital product can fill that gap. If the answer to this question is a yes, congrats, you already have an idea for your mock project. Companies like Uber, Airbnb, Swiggy, and many others started just like this, where the founders were merely trying to solve a problem that they themselves were facing. You're only trying to have a project in your portfolio. It's much simpler.
Instead of showing like 100 frames scattered here and there with random things scattered on your canvas, just have a presentation in a Figma file. Just have one wide frame and put your phone inside that, have some text on the left side to give some context about what the screen is for, and just take them through a deck. Don't show them all your iterations, all your variations, because you have limited time to impress them. And what you can do is you can add small things to make your presentation look good. You can actually change the background of your Figma canvas from the right side. So just put it at 0 0 so that you have like a cinematic while. Instead of dragging your frames here and there, use the N and Shift N key where you can hop from one frame to another frame. Name your frames properly so that if you share your Figma files, they can understand what is the frame for. They can understand the groupings, right? You just don't have to focus on your visual design. You also have to focus on how you've organized your work. How have you organized your frames and groups and your layers, your new components? Everything matters.
So far, whatever process we have said is pretty much valid for the interview of a full-time role as well, right? Yes, it is. The process is exactly the same or almost the same. The only difference is companies would be more forgiving while they're evaluating for internship than a full-time role. It's okay if you haven't considered a thing or two. It's okay if you couldn't completely justify any decision and so on, right? But you still need to be good, just that there'll be a little more forgiving. But it doesn't end here. You're expected to fill those gaps with enthusiasm and your hunger for learning. Your attitude should be, I know I don't know everything, but once you tell me, I'll make sure I learn it in a way that I will never forget. And this is not something you necessarily have to speak out. Your attitude and body language should reflect that. And now coming to the last part, which is making most out of your internship. Alright, so you landed into your internship, and now what? Well, now comes the most important part. Remember, your aim is not just to complete your internship and collect your certificate. The larger purpose in most of the cases is to get a full-time job. Either get a full-time job from the same company or learn from the internship, build a much stronger portfolio and get a full-time job in some other company, perhaps a better one. You see, you can learn to design from any school, course, workshop, videos or books. But as a professional, in most of the cases, you will design for a company, a business. A corporate workspace is one of the most practical places you will ever find. During your internship, you will discover that everything that is written on textbooks is not necessarily relevant all the time. That's why I always say it's easy to learn the rules, slightly tough to apply them, and a lot tougher to know when and how to break them. In your internship, you will witness all these practicalities. Along with the hard skills of designing screens, layout, illustrations, animations, and so on, you will also encounter the art and science behind persuading, decision-making, convincing, and so on.
The points that I will share now are very subjective. So I would recommend you to listen to them with an open mind and pick what is compatible to your situation. Because when I was shifting from college to Bangalore, and this is during Swiggy's internship, it was the first time that I was doing something on my own. So there were a lot of mistakes that I made. But in the end, it was a great experience, and these tips really helped me make the most of my internship. Point number 1, you have to live near your office. If you're living in a city like Bangalore, you have to be mindful about the traffic that the city has. So instead of living too far away just because you're getting someplace at lower rent, pay more and stay near your office. So when I was working at Swiggy, I was paying around 15 to 20% extra on my accommodation simply because it was 5 minutes walking from my office. So I could wake up late and I could take my bath, go to the gym and then go for my internship. Most of my other friends in other cities and even in Bangalore took accommodations that were cheaper but really far away. So instead of spending too much money on cabs and autos and Ubers and spending so much time on traveling back and forth, if you're able to get an accommodation near office, even if it's at a 15% premium or a 20% higher cost, go for it. It's a very good investment. I don't regret it. I had a great time because I could easily go to office and come back to office in just like a 5 minutes walking distance. When you're in your office or even when you're working virtually, instead of asking questions again and again, try to observe, and not just observe how your seniors work on Figma. Observe how they talk, observe how they communicate, how they give feedback, how do they receive feedback. And I'm not talking about just design stuff. See what they're eating, see what they're discussing. You would pick a lot by just being silent. And that is something that I do. When I'm in a social setting, I don't even talk. My best experiences are sitting in a party, sitting in a crowded place and just being silent. Just knowing that I am here, I'm with these people, I don't know anything about them, but I can learn a lot by just being silent. I'm telling you, there's a lot that you can learn in terms of soft skills and vocabulary and body language by just observing your seniors. And now we come to the last advice, and this is something that is not meant for everyone, and it might sound slightly controversial, but I loved being in the office. It was my first internship at Swiggy, and I just personally loved being there. Mostly because I was in a new city, I didn't have many friends, I didn't have anything to do when I went back home. So I used to come early and almost be the last person to leave my office because I enjoyed the internet, I enjoyed being at my desk, I was very happy, very grateful. So just being in the zone, being in that office vibe felt really valuable to me. I tried to spend maximum time, and every day I would just walk around the office, look at the fancy buildings, look at all these people in like suits and ties and talking and like walking very quickly, and just look at them and be inspired. Right? Like when you're in a good workplace, when you're in an office, you can see where you will be if you work hard. And of course, this is valid if you're working in a place that is in alignment with your interests. You're surrounded by people who inspire you. So that is very important because that energy is really valuable. In that 3 to 4 months internship, the amount of stuff that you can learn, the amount of inspiration that you can get, not from just your office, even from neighboring offices, even from the cafes and the streets and the traffic, everything can teach you lessons if you're observant about it.
I hope you found this video useful. I hope you crack your dream job or internship really soon. If you like it, please share it in your network and hit that like button, and also please subscribe to mine as well as Ansh's channel. This is Sapta. See you all in the next one.